This video, I'm going to show you how to do a neck stretch for side bending, which is going to stretch all of these tissues here, which is mostly more of your scalenes, not your upper trap like you were thinking, but this is going to work on all of the stuff that a lot of people feel is really tight and uncomfortable and try to stretch all the time. But we're going to do it in a way that's actually going to improve the flexibility of those tissues and improve the resilience, and most likely decrease all of that tightness sensation too, because we are going to add some PAILs rails at the end, which are going to be some end range loading to build some strength and down regulate some of those muscles. So what you're first going to do is drop your ear towards your side to feel a stretch on this side. Now, this is the side I am stretching. So level one would be to just actively do this movement. And if you don't feel a stretch here, level two would also be dropping the shoulder blade down. If you feel a stretch there and it is pretty intense, you can stay there. If you still don't feel a stretch, level three would be reaching your arm behind you and your hand here. So the more that we are prying these apart, the more intense the stretch is going to be. You can push the intensity to whatever you can tolerate, but again, we want to start low first. We can always add intensity later, which is really what we typically want to do with stretching. So once you have found that position and the intensity that makes sense for you, that is appropriate for you in that moment, you're going to hold the stretch for the prescribed amount of time, anywhere between 10 and 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds to start, but working up to those long 2-minute holds that are not super intense, just a prolonged hold over time, breathing into it and feeling like these are slowly relaxing. If this has been something you've done for a while, you can also increase the stretch sensation by holding a weight in your hand. So you would do this standing, hold a weight in your hand, and now we can do that here. So those are the different levels of the stretch. Now, once the time is up on your stretch, we're gonna do some PAILs and rails. So the contraction for PAILs is going to be head into hand, like you were trying to do this motion. We are trying to bring the ear towards that side, but your hand's not gonna let it. We're just gonna contract about 10 to 20% of your max to feel these muscles contracting a little bit. Then from there, we're gonna increase the intensity and slowly increase the intensity up to the desired intensity, anywhere from that low intensity of 10 to 25%, all the way up to 80 to a max effort, depending on where you are and what's appropriate for you and your goals. You're gonna hold for that 10 to 15 seconds or whatever is on your program, and then you're gonna slowly relax. Then your PAILs contraction is done. We're going to start rails. Rails is going to be contracting the opposite side stuff. So you're gonna feel this stuff contract to open this stuff up. You can also contract this stuff to really pull these apart, which is going to be increasing the range of motion. So rails is going to be trying to get a deeper stretch. Again, we don't want to increase the intensity too much here, but we should feel these muscles actively pulling into that movement, then holding for the prescribed amount of time, and then ramping back down. Typically it's about 10 to 15 seconds. And that would be one round of your PAILs rails. Ways that you can increase the intensity of the PAILs rails is, again, having a weight that you hold down by your side, and instead of just doing your PAILs in rails with your head, where we are pushing our head into our hand, we can also have a really heavy weight where we are trying to shrug the shoulder a little bit. It would have to be so heavy that we can't actually shrug the shoulder, and then that would be our PAILs, and then rails would be actively pulling that down, feeling this muscle tissue and actively pulling this over to the other side, feeling this muscle tissue, and that would be your rails contraction. Again, you can either be done if that is one round on your program, or you can rest and come back depending on what you need for a couple of other sets, but you should feel like this stuff feels really open and a little bit less tight and irritated after you do these. If it feels worse, you've gone too intense and we need to back off a little bit. But over time, you should feel that your body starts to tolerate more and more. What we definitely want to avoid is any discomfort and pain, any numbness or tingling, any headaches, and we should not feel any pinching in the closing angle side when we are bringing our ear towards our shoulder. Should just be all directed, all the sensation should be stretching directed on this opposite side. And that is what you want to push into, not any sort of pinching. If you do feel pinching here, you can try doing your stretch at a little bit earlier of a movement. And if you don't feel a stretch, and as soon as you start to feel a stretch, you feel a pinch, then I want you to back off and just do some PAILs rails right before you feel the pinch, or we need to work on something else and you just aren't ready for that stretch. But whatever you do, just don't push into it. Be consistent over time, try to progress the intensity and the range of motion, and you should be able to reap the benefits.